Alright, so if you've watched my shelter intro, I told you I was going to go out and build some shelters, and the first shelter we're going to look for is called a root shelter. This is where a tree has fallen down and it leaves you with almost like a natural shelter that's half built for you. So we're going to be looking for one of those, and we're going to look for one of those in the right area. Okay, remember everything I told you in my intro, and that's what we're going to be looking for. So we're going to go on a little walk here and see what we can't find. When you have that moment when you realize that you're going to be needing a shelter, that's the moment you're going to need to start looking for everything that's going to help you improve that shelter and improve your situation. Fire. Okay, I found some vines here. Some of these vines may come in handy. Alright, cordage. Help me lash that shelter together. Alright, this area is kind of open, but here I see a problem on the ground. It's wet. Okay, I don't want that. That is not ideal for a shelter. Kind of low. As you can see, there's a ridge up there. I don't want to be down here. This is on the right side. This here, that's the west side over there. This is the east. Alright, so we don't want to be necessarily on that side of the ridge unless we have another ridge over there to protect us from the wind. You know, predominant wind is what's gonna make or break you up there. You don't want that predominant wind blowing at your face and at your shelter all night. So we're gonna keep moving and see what we can't find. Once I find a spot here, I'll get back with you. I'm gonna keep searching until I come across something, and I'm going to collect stuff along the way, and I'll show you that as I go. One thing you're going to want to look for when looking for materials to make a roof is maybe a down tree like this. This is a down tulip poplar with dead bark. Okay, if you can find one of these with this bark already dead, this right here is going to serve is almost like shingles. So we're going to go ahead and collect this for our shelter to help seal it up, keep it waterproof. Alright, so I think I found myself the ideal location. Right here is all that bark that we gathered, all that tulip poplar bark off that dead tree. Okay, that's like I was telling you, you want to gather things along the way that you see. Because I haven't seen anything like that since that area, and that was probably a good 300 yards from this spot, and I don't want to have to go back and get it. So came up on the side of this ridge, found this down tree right here. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Okay, that's a down tree right there. If you look, there's a tree that runs along right here. Alright, and right here, it leaves us with this giant mound of dirt. Okay. Now, immediately, I want to start thinking about some things. Okay, am I off the ground? Yes. Down here, there's a source of water. Believe it or not, there's actually a little. It's down there probably 50 yards, right down here. There's a little stream. Okay, we'll go down there in a minute. I'll take you for a walk down there. And I obviously have some remodeling to do, which is alright. It doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. Now here we have this tree that fell on top of the root shelter. First thing you want to do is check that thing. How strong is it? Okay, that thing ain't going nowhere. It's strong. It's not super dead. It's only been there a little while. And we don't want to risk having this thing fall on us. What I'm going to do is use it to my advantage to make this shelter even better. Okay, so we're going to utilize all this resource here. Now, let's look around. Are there any widow makers? Alright, this is actually a really nice area. Small growth. There's not huge growth right here. I've got this huge opening right there. That's east. Alright, it's, you know, probably noon right now, and that sun is just going to come right in here. Alright, Now in the mornings it's not going to hit me directly, it's going to be going into that, so it's kind of thicker than I would want, but it's going to be alright. It's going to serve me well. Okay, the predominant wind is on that side, so I am definitely sheltered from the predominant wind. Alright, this is going to be the calm side. Alright, that's west over there. We want to be staying on this side, the easterly. So that looks good. I seem pretty sheltered from anything. I don't have any serious concern. This is not where water's going to be. So what we want to do now is start getting the resources which are all around me. I've got dead logs up there that I can use. I've got lots of little saplings I can use here. Stuff that's going to get me off the ground and get me sheltered from anything that is going to be of concern. So let's get focused on this and get to work. Alright, I want to take you really quick from where we found our root shelter before we get going on. I'm going to show you how close I am to the water source. Now there's multiple little ridges and ravines out here that I've been on. This one here has proved to be quite well for what I need. And I want to point out all these vines. Okay, these are perfect for cordage. I've got vines up and through here that are really going to help me out. Now, make sure you're not cutting into poison ivy, because the vine itself can cause contact dermatitis. So be sure to not be cutting into poison ivy. You can watch my video on how to identify that. But all them other vines that have the woody texture to them, that look almost like twine, those are going to serve me well. You don't always have cordage. If you have a paracord bracelet, okay, I always wear two. That's what they're for. If you have to cut that thing, cut it. Paracord's cheap. You can make yourself another one when you get home. You have to cut that thing and use them 7 strands inside of there. Use it. It's going to help you with everything. Snares, cordage for a bow drill, cordage for lashing your shelter. Now right here is this little tiny ditch I got going on here. Alright, this is going to be my water source. And that was what, 50 yards, not even 50 yards, maybe 30. It's not far at all. I'm guessing it's just fed from a natural spring somewhere. And I would just dig a little well to the side of it or something if you wanted to, if it wasn't very clear looking. But as you can see, that water's pretty clean. You can barely even see it in the camera. Alright, within 20 minutes I've managed to put up a pretty good frame here. If you look, I got this side framed. Now what this is kind of becoming is an A-frame. Alright, this natural log right here. Stack these branches here to create this frame. And this is 90% of it was all dead wood within 10 feet from me. Okay, this root here is protecting me on this side, which is going to offer me my backstop for my fire. I'm going to have a fire right here which is then going to be reflected off this root system back into my shelter. And I'm putting all these, see all these thick, I think they're like a type of love dodder vine or something. That's what they look like the ones in Florida. And they're real springy and cushiony. So what I'm doing is putting them down first, and then I'm going to stack leaves on top of that to give me some cushion and some insulation from the ground. And that way it's going to be comfortable. And you notice how in here there's a slight incline. That's perfect for me for sleeping. I'm going to be comfortable. Okay, you don't want to be uncomfortable, because again, I told you in my intro that sleep is a huge factor. You want to focus on your bed. Take more time on your bed than anything, because you want to sleep comfortably. You know, don't waste your time putting up a shelter, the roof. Put it up, get it up, be done with it. Make sure it ain't going to leak on you. Alright? But focus on that bed. It's important. You want to sleep comfortably, because if you don't sleep, you're going to end up being in trouble anyways. So now I'm going to focus on filling this bed back up. And once I'm done with that, because you want to go from the inside out with these shelters, not the outside in. Okay, I put my frame up and everything and kept throwing little chunks of leaves and dodder vines in there. And now I want to focus on filling that in the rest of the way. And then I'll enclose these walls with our bark that we found. And then put leaves over top of that to seal it off real good. So I'm going to keep going at this, and then we'll get back with you. Okay, I took my head wrap off. I wanted to show you what I'm doing. I'm using all the resources I got, and all I had was my knife, my head wrap, and the clothes on my body. Alright, so I'm using this head wrap to collect leaves, because obviously eventually you use the leaves around your camp, so you got to go get more. So I'm just filling it up with just the dry leaves on top. I'm not using any of the wet stuff on bottom, because that's going to serve me no good. And then I just dump her in and get the next load. So that's going to help make things a little more efficient than taking handful by handful, because you need quite a bit of leaves to give yourself enough cushion. Alright, so I finished up my bedding. I put a few more layers of leaves down, laid on top of it to squish it down, and then I took and went for a little walk and found me a few pine and cedar boughs, which are great for insulation. Alright, now I have a lot of leaves down here where my feet's going to go. Okay, so I focused most of my pine and cedar up towards my core, because that's essentially what I want to keep the warmest, is my core. Alright, so I have cushion down here by my feet, which is fine. Up here I've got a pile of cedar. Now cedar provides you more than just bedding. It provides you a bug repellent. Okay, bugs typically don't like cedar. So this can help repel insects, it can help repel mosquitoes, and other critters you don't want crawling in with you at night. And I laid down on it, and it's quite comfortable. So once you get to the point where you're like, okay, I can sleep on this, then you got to go finishing putting your roof on your shelter. You know, you want to make this so it's wind tight if need be, but the main thing is keeping the water out. So we want to get a roof on there. So I'm going to do what I can to seal it up and turn it into a pretty effective shelter. So that's what you want to focus on in your bed. Try to get that done first before you close everything in, because then it's not as easy taking things in and out. So now that we got that done, let's seal it up and get our fire going. One thing that's going to help with your roof is finding big old leaves. You know, there's a lot of laurel out here, mountain laurel and other types of hickories and such that have big leaves. You know, look at, here's my hand up to that leaf. That's a big leaf. So that right there is going to serve a good purpose in our roof. And before I put my shingles on out of that bark I found, which looking in front of me right there, I see some more bark hanging off this dead tree. That's right by camp, and so are these big leaves. So I'm going to take and stick those in like shingles first, and then we'll go ahead and put our bark over top of it to really seal it up good. Alright, as you can tell, I've covered that with ferns, mountain laurel, other big leaves I could find, oak leaves, and now I'm going to start layering it with shingles. And when you shingle things, you start from the bottom. Okay, you want to go to the bottom, up, just like you would a house. because if you go from the top down, it's just going to run the water in the cracks right into your shelter. So if you go and you overlap, that water will just constantly run down. So you want to make it just like shingles on your house. So now I'm going to get to that step, and then we'll move forward from there. Alright, so after putting my layer leaves and then my layer shingles, I took some other leaves from the ground, just patched up a few holes, and I focused mainly on my roof, which is here. Made sure that was sealed up good, because that's where the rain's going to get in. Okay, when you come in here, you look around, you see a little bit of light coming there. You know, I'm not concerned about there because that's way outside of my shelter, but above my head is completely sealed off. Okay, and this wall here, I ran out of that bark, but you can see how well that worked. You can't see through it. Okay, that's where my shingles are. This side, as you can tell at the bottom here, I ran out of bark. See, and I should patch that hole there up and maybe throw a few more piles of leaves on this side. All I did is took a bunch of leaves and dead trees that peeled off, like rotten ones, and piled them up on this side. I'll show you here in a second. You can see now it's pretty dark in here. Okay, you just want to seal up them last little bits, like up there on that part of the ceiling. I'm going to want to unseal that, and then I'm ready to go. Like this right now, even without sealing that, if you had to, you could sleep in this and be sheltered. Okay, you got a bed, you got a roof over your head. You're not going to get soaked if it were to rain. And down here in the back, this is the side where the wind would be coming. I'm pretty sheltered there. I took some dirt and kicked some dirt along this brim in case water were to run downhill. It's going to go just like this. This is the pattern I gave it. It's going to go right on out of there. And there's a drainage I found over here where the water seems to run. So that's a good thing. I should be alright. If anything, I'd want to just close that little where the root came out. You'd want to put something there to, like a little dirt mound or something, to keep the water from coming in your shelter. But the shelter part is actually raised, so I should be fine. So when we come over this log here, you can see what I did. Okay, I told you I ran out of shingles, so I piled leaves, cut more like oaks and stuff. Piled these on top after the fact. This here is just dead rotted log. See, I peel this from the bottom of it. You can use those to shingle. Just run them long ways and they'll stay up there good for you. And then you just got to put a bunch of leaves on top over it. See, now I'm going to want to take more leaf debris and just keep shoving it in there. Any of this little bark like that, shove it in them spots. That hole over here that we saw, it was right here. You know, we're going to want to pile a big pile of leaves here. You can take some twigs and twine them up, and that gives you almost like a little place for it to catch, and then the leaves just sit right in there. See, now I could take these leaves and just lay them right on there like that, and that's going to keep me insulated. It's going to keep the heat and shelter. Okay, so that's all I'm going to want to do to finish this up. Alright, now I need to focus on water and other chores, food, and a plan to get out of here. That's what it's going to do. This shelter, remember when I told you it was noon, looking at the sun? Well, right now it is 1:30, 1:40. So that took me an hour and 40 minutes to do all this, collecting materials. You know, shooting it on camera doesn't help, but it's going to take you time to find these materials, because I had to go for a walk to find that cedar and pine. And these shingles weren't easy to carry in either. This was found, like I said, about 300-400 yards away. So walking through this hilly terrain in Tennessee, you're going to be doing some work to get this done, but you want to do it quickly as possible. Spend a good couple hours on a shelter. That's what it's going to take. If you spend any less than that, it means that you feel you don't need one. Okay, and there is times when you don't need one. Now, like I said, this is a root shelter. I got lucky with this beam running across and turned it into kind of an A-frame. But this root is still going to serve its purpose that I wanted it to by putting the fire right here. Okay, what that's going to do is the smoke's going to stay out. Make sure the wind's not blowing in your shelter, because it'll smoke you out. And you're going to use this root to just reflect that heat. It's just going to come right in. It's going to heat that thing up like you would never believe. So we're going to use that to our advantage. Now, if you didn't have this A-frame here, all you would do is take sticks and lean them up against this root here. Okay? And it would become essentially a lean-to. Alright, but you would have the root as your other wall, which is already built for you. You would just stack them things right here up against this, log after log. Make sure they're long enough where you can just crawl in. Now this, like I said, you want a small shelter. This thing here is just enough for me to comfortably come in and lay down. Okay, my head's on the ground. You can see my feet down here. I'm not at a decline, so all the blood rushes to my head. I'm perfectly inclined, so I can sleep comfortably. My bed's comfortable. I got lots of cedar underneath me. And I got a roof over my head. Okay, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to sleep just fine tonight. I'll stay dry if it rains. I'm going to go ahead and patch a little bit more here. And I'm going to be just fine. Now I feel secure in here. I got a wall on this side that you can tell as the camera shows. It's black. It's completely concealed. This side has a little bit of work to do yet. A couple holes here and there. Once I seal them off with leaves, I'll be golden. Okay, so I'm going to get my fire going and show you how that's going to work. First thing I did for my fire was just take a stick and dug out part of this root system here, and that's going to serve a multifunctional purpose. I'm angling the back of this towards my shelter here, so it's going to come this way. Okay, there's like an indent here, so it's concave like that. And I built a little ring, so this is kind of a little pit right here. That's going to protect my shelter from burning or burning the forest down. Okay, it's going to safely burn that ember all night long for me. Just pack this in, and as well, if you look from up here, them root systems leave a big hole. Well, if it were to rain, that's going to puddle up. I packed this nice and tight. That's going to keep that water in here and not in there with me. Now, I'm not too worried about it because where I'm standing is a lot lower than where I am in that shelter, and then it goes up where I'm laying. So where it goes up there will not get wet at all, because like I showed you in the back, I diverted where water would go around the shelter. So this took all of 5 minutes to do this. It's worth it. You don't want to burn your shelter down. Smoke's going to come right up here. It's not going to be bothered by this. This log's wet anyways. You know, the bottom of it's rotted out. Top of it's good and solid. And you won't have to worry about that catching fire. You won't have to worry about this root system catching fire. You got all this clay back here blocking everything. It's all moist. That's what you want. So this is going to serve its good purpose. Now also, kind of good thing I built this where I did, because these vines that are growing all over here, they have some really awesome bark on them. I'm not 100% sure on what these are. Like I said, they look like love dodder vines in Florida. You can see this, see how frilly that is? Well, that's going to serve me a good purpose, because I'm going to use that as tinder. And like I said, all these resources around your camp matter. So having all this right here, that's just a plus for me. And that's why you got to keep your eyes open. I noticed that, I'm like, hey, I don't even know what this is, but I know it's going to make me a good tinder. I can tell by the way it feels. It's super dry. So I'm going to grab me some of this. and I'll get my fire going. If you had to use a bow drill, hand drill, whatever you had to use, this would work for your tinder bundle. You could blow an ember with this, I can guarantee it, by the way it feels. I have a ferro rod, so I'm just going to hit it with that. And this isn't a fire video, so I don't want to focus too much on it. But I thought I'd show you that. Things you want to focus on. Alright, so I'm ready to just get a quick fire going here. And I put that stuff from the vine towards the front. I found some cedar bark, went and got some of that as well to add to the bundle. And I want to hit this stuff separate. So we'll hit the vine bark there. See how that works there. Too bad I didn't find this earlier. I could have put it in my tinder video. So we'll go ahead and see what happens here. She goes. Goes quick. Gotta hit her again though. Yeah, she goes quick. Definitely works as a tinder. Stuff burns super quick. I'm gonna bring some of that cedar over top of it. Get it going. Alright, so I let that fire build up a little bit, and now we're going to go ahead and step inside, let you look at what I got going on here. Okay, it's a secure fire. Got that wall there, reflecting heat back in here. So we go ahead and crawl in. Do a little in-home maintenance there. Get comfortable, and I can feel the heat from that fire coming in right here off that backstop. Okay, it's called a fire reflector. It causes radiation to just radiate right inside your shelter. Okay, like right here, like over here I can't feel it as much, but directly across from the angle of that fire you can feel it coming in right here. Okay, that's what we want. We want this to be nice and toasty tonight, because at this time, around October, it gets pretty cold at night and pretty frosty in the morning. Okay, and this is an area where we're up a little bit higher. The frost won't be as big of an issue, but we just want to make sure we're good and sheltered in like this, and we're gonna have ourselves an enjoyable night. It ain't, you know, home, but it'll work. Alright, so I hope everyone enjoyed this. Get out there and practice some shelter making, trial and error, and we'll see what happens from there, huh?